The drift shards were a starless void, a swirling sea of jagged asteroid fields and debris from forgotten wars. It was the kind of place only two types of beings ventured, those who were desperate and those who were dangerous. Somewhere in this maze of cosmic wreckage, a flickering distress beacon pulsed feebly, the universal cry for help. Inside the bridge of the Zarthun Raider Claw of Dusk, Captain Threx clicked his mandibles in amusement. He loomed over the holo-display, his hulking carapace bathed in the dim red glow of the ship's lights. The hologram showed a grainy image of a human transport ship, drifting and barely operational. Its hull was scorched, its engines sputtering weakly. A perfect, helpless victim. Pathetic, Threx hissed, his sharp, chitinous voice echoing in the room. Humans. They should stick to their precious trade lanes. Perhaps it's a trap, Captain, one of his lieutenants ventured, their voice tinged with unease. Threx turned, fixing the smaller Zarthun with his many black, soulless eyes. And what if it is, Krotak? Are we not Zarthun? Are we not predators? He slammed a clawed fist onto the console. Prepare the boarding teams. I want their cargo, their ship, and their screams. On the bridge of the HSS Resolution, Captain Myra Voss leaned back in her command chair, her piercing green eyes locked onto the tactical display. The civilian transport was no more than a decoy drone, its distress beacon designed to lure in predators like Threx. Around her, the bridge hummed with quiet, disciplined activity. "Status?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. Lieutenant Rojan, the ship's tactical officer, replied without looking up from his console. "Pirates closing in. Looks like 3 ships, 1 heavy cruiser, 2 corvettes. No sign they've detected us yet." Voss smirked. "Good. Maintain stealth and hold position. Let them get comfortable." The Resolution was a masterpiece of Terran ingenuity, a stealth frigate designed for asymmetrical warfare. Its angular frame was sheathed in light-bending alloys, and its advanced AI-assisted systems made it capable of operating unseen, even in the pirate-infested drift shards. Voss had no illusions about her mission. Humanity's expansion into the stars had brought prosperity, but also enemies. The Zarthun were the worst of the lot, ruthless slavers and raiders who saw humans as little more than livestock. Today, she would make sure they thought twice before targeting another human ship. "Commander Monroe," Voss addressed her second-in-command, Thoughts. Monroe, a no-nonsense officer with greying temples, leaned over her shoulder. "They're arrogant. That's their weakness. We let them think they've won until it's too late. Then, we remind them why humans are no easy prey." Voss nodded. "Exactly. Rojan, prepare railguns for a warning shot on my mark. Helm, maintain position." The pirate ships moved into formation around the stricken transport. On board the Claw of Dusk, Threx watched with anticipation as his boarding shuttles prepared to launch. His crew was a cacophony of growls and hisses, eager for the spoils. Then the darkness of space shimmered. The Resolution emerged from its cloak, its sleek, matte-black hull a stark contrast to the crude and jagged pirate vessels. Its design was almost predatory, a lethal blend of angles and curves. A burst of light streaked from the frigate, a single railgun round fired with terrifying precision. It streaked past the Claw of Dusk and detonated harmlessly against a distant asteroid, but the message was clear. On the pirate bridge, Threx recoiled as the comms crackled to life. A human voice, smooth and icy, filled the room. "This is Captain Myra Voss of the Terran Navy vessel Resolution. Zarthun Raiders, you are trespassing in human-controlled space and engaging in acts of piracy. Surrender immediately, or you will be neutralized." For a moment, there was stunned silence. Then, Threx's mandibles spread wide in a cruel grin. A single Terran ship dares to challenge me? Humans truly are suicidal. He jabbed a claw at his tactical officer. Open fire. Destroy them. On the Resolution, Voss watched the pirate ship's weapons power up. Her smirk widened. They took the bait, she murmured. Orders, Captain? Rojan asked, his fingers poised over the tactical console. Voss stood, her voice carrying the weight of inevitability. Fire! The bridge erupted in coordinated activity as the Resolution unleashed its wrath. Chapter 2. The Ambush. The first volley from the Zarthun fleet streaked through the void, a chaotic swarm of glowing plasma bolts. They rained down on the Resolution like a meteor shower, but not a single shot landed. The ship's advanced countermeasures projected faint flickers of holographic decoys, causing the pirates' targeting systems to misfire spectacularly. On the bridge of the Resolution, Captain Myra Voss stood with an unshakable calm as her crew executed their roles with military precision. Enemy weapons are fully engaged, Lieutenant Rojan reported, his fingers flying over his console. Their aim is garbage, but they're getting closer. Close enough, Voss replied. She leaned forward, her tone sharp. Deploy sentry drones. Let's give them something else to worry about. Outside the ship, a swarm of sleek, black drones shot out from the Resolution's dorsal bays, each no larger than a human fighter jet. The drones flitted into the gaps between the Resolution and the approaching pirate ships, their maneuvering thrusters humming faintly in the vacuum. Each drone's nose bristled with high-energy pulse cannons. As the pirate vessels pressed forward, their plasma fire tearing toward the Terran warship, the drones retaliated. Bright beams of energy lanced through the darkness, surgically targeting exposed sections of the pirates' hulls. One of the corvettes, a hulking, angular thing with uneven plating, was the first to fall victim. A drone's cannon burned clean through its port engine, sending the ship spiraling helplessly into the debris field. On board the Claw of Dusk, Captain Threx bellowed in rage as he watched his ally falter. "What are these things?" he demanded, his mandibles clacking furiously. "They're automated, Captain," Krotak shouted, his claws dancing across his console. "Unmanned weapon platforms, human-made. Destroy them." Threx roared. "Focus fire on the Terran ship and sweep those drones from the stars." But the Zarthun were unprepared for human ingenuity. Inside the Resolution, Voss noted the tactical display with satisfaction. The surviving pirate ships had adjusted their targeting priorities, turning their weapons on the drones. It was exactly what she wanted. "They're trying to swat flies with cannons," Commander Monroe muttered. "Amateurs." "They're scared," Voss corrected, her voice steady. "And scared enemies make mistakes. Helm, bring us into their flank. Let's make them regret this." The Resolution pivoted gracefully, its engines flaring with controlled bursts as it darted into the opening left by the pirates' scattered fire. As it moved, its railguns rotated into position, their sleek barrels glowing faintly as they charged. "Railguns locked," Rojan announced. Voss's voice was ice. "Fire!" The Resolution's twin railguns fired in tandem, each round a hypervelocity slug of metal propelled by electromagnetic force. The first shot slammed into the bridge of the second Zarthun corvette, punching straight through its armor and rupturing its command center in a brilliant explosion. The vessel veered wildly, its remaining crew scrambling to regain control before it collided with a nearby asteroid. The second railgun round struck the Claw of Dusk itself, shearing off one of its forward weapons arrays in a shower of molten debris. Inside the pirate flagship, sparks rained down as alarms blared. Captain Threx clung to his command chair, his eyes filled with fury. "Damage report," he snarled. "Forward weapons disabled," Krotak stammered. "Shield generators are failing, and our main thrusters are." "Enough," Threx interrupted. He rose to his full height, towering over his crew. "This Terran ship underestimates us. Prepare the—" Before he could finish, the bridge lights flickered, and an eerie sound began to fill the room. It was faint at first, a whisper, but it grew louder with each passing second. It was a voice. No voices. Threx of the Zarthun, the disembodied voices echoed through the claw of dusk. The words were spoken in a dozen languages at once, overlapping in a haunting harmony. "You are guilty of raiding, pillaging, and murder. Your crimes will not go unpunished." The crew of the pirate ship looked around in confusion and terror. Even Threx's bravado faltered as the ghostly words filled the air. "What is this?" he growled, his claws digging into the armrests of his chair. "A message," Voss's voice replied, cutting through the cacophony. "From humanity." On the resolution, Voss allowed herself a small smile. Her ship's AI, Argus, was broadcasting a psychological warfare program directly into the pirates' comms. The overlapping languages were designed to destabilize the enemy's morale, and judging by the pirates' increasingly erratic movements on the tactical display, it was working. "They're breaking formation," Rojan reported. "One corvette's engines are failing, and the flagship is pulling back." "Good," Voss said. "But not good enough. Keep the pressure on." The Resolution surged forward, its railguns firing again. Another shot slammed into the claw of dusk, this time disabling its rear engines. The pirate flagship was now dead in the water, drifting helplessly. Inside the claw of dusk, chaos reigned. Crew members shouted over one another, trying to stabilize the ship. Threx's mandibles quivered with rage, but his voice was unsteady as he bellowed, "We will not be cowed by humans. Prepare the artifact. I will show them our true power." Krotak hesitated. "Captain, the artifact is unstable. If we use it—" "Do it," Threx roared. Back on the Resolution, Voss noticed the spike in energy signatures coming from the pirate flagship. Her smile faded. "Something's happening," Rojan said, his tone urgent. "Massive power build-up on the claw of dusk. It's off the charts." Voss narrowed her eyes. "They're desperate, and desperate enemies are the most dangerous." She turned to Monroe. "Get me options. I don't like surprises." "Neither do I," Monroe replied grimly, already scanning for answers. The battle wasn't over yet. Chapter 3. Lessons in Terror. The claw of dusk began to shimmer with a faint, eerie green light, pulsating in uneven waves across its jagged hull. On board the Resolution, Captain Voss and her crew watched with growing unease as the energy signature from the pirate flagship spiked beyond anything in their databases. "What are we looking at, Rojan?" Voss demanded, her voice sharp. Rojan squinted at his console, his hands darting across the controls. "Some kind of exotic power source. The readings are unstable, possibly an alien artifact. Whatever it is, it's dangerous." Monroe stepped closer to Voss, his expression grim. "Captain, if they're activating an ancient weapon, we can't assume they know how to control it. They're as likely to destroy themselves as us." "Let's not give them the chance," Voss replied. She turned back to Rojan. "Target their power core. Disable it before they can fire." "Captain," Rojan interrupted, his voice rising. "They're charging some kind of energy weapon. If they get a clear shot, we're in serious trouble." Voss clenched her jaw. "Helm, evasive maneuvers. Rojan, all weapons on standby. If they want to gamble with the galaxy's leftovers, let's remind them who they're playing against." Aboard the Claw of Dusk, Captain Threx stood in the center of the chaos, his many eyes gleaming with manic determination. The artifact, a pulsing, crystalline orb suspended in a containment field, cast sickly green light across the bridge. "Energy levels are critical, Captain," Krotak warned, panic evident in his voice. "The artifact isn't stable." "I do not care," Threx snarled, raising his claws in defiance. "If the humans will not kneel, then they will burn." The containment field began to crackle violently as streams of green energy snaked out, dancing like lightning across the bridge. Consoles sparked, and one crew member was thrown across the room as a bolt of energy arced into him. The weapon's targeting array locked onto the Resolution. On the Terran warship, the bridge crew worked in tense silence, their movements precise and efficient. The tactical display lit up with warnings as the Claw of Dusk's weapon systems powered to full capacity. "They're about to fire," Rojan shouted. "Not if we hit them first," Voss snapped. "Railguns, fire at will. Target their weapon array." The Resolution's railguns roared to life, launching 2 hypervelocity rounds straight at the pirate flagship. The first shot struck true, tearing through the Claw of Dusk's forward plating and obliterating a section of its hull. The second round veered off course as the pirate vessel's shimmering energy shield flared to life, absorbing the impact with a blinding flash. "Shields are up," Rojan reported. "They're diverting everything to defense." "Smart," Monroe muttered, "but not smart enough. They're leaving their engines exposed." Voss's eyes flicked to the tactical display, her mind racing. "Rojan, prepare the drones for a coordinated strike on their engines. If we can't take out their weapon, we'll cripple their mobility." "Aye, Captain," Rojan replied, redirecting the swarm of sentry drones toward the flagship. As the drones converged, the Claw of Dusk unleashed a desperate counterattack. Turrets along its hull swiveled to track the incoming swarm, spitting streams of plasma and shrapnel. Several drones were obliterated instantly, but the others pressed on, weaving through the chaos with inhuman precision. One drone slipped through the barrage and latched onto the pirate ship's rear engine array. Its pulse cannon fired at point-blank range, tearing through the thrusters and igniting a cascade of explosions. On board the Resolution, the crew cheered as the pirate flagship's engines went dark. "They're dead in the water," Rojan confirmed. But the celebration was short-lived. "Energy buildup is still climbing," Rojan shouted, his voice laced with urgency. "They're not stopping. They're going to fire that thing." Inside the Claw of Dusk, the artifact's containment field collapsed entirely. The crystalline orb floated freely now, pulsating with violent, chaotic energy. Threx stared at it, transfixed, as arcs of green lightning lashed out across the bridge. His crew scrambled for cover, their fear palpable. "Captain, we have to eject the artifact," Krotak pleaded. "No," Threx roared, his mandibles flaring wide. "This is our victory. The humans will." His words were cut short as a bolt of energy struck him, sending him crashing into the bulkhead. The artifact pulsed once more, brighter than ever, and then unleashed a beam of raw, destructive energy directly at the Resolution. The human warship rolled hard to starboard as the beam seared past, narrowly missing its main hull. Even so, the ship's shields flared and buckled under the residual energy, sending shock waves through the entire vessel. "Shields at 30%, Rojan reported, gripping his console. "Damage report," Voss barked. "Minor hull breaches on the port side," Monroe said, steady despite the shaking. "Shields holding, for now." Voss's jaw tightened. The Resolution couldn't take another hit like that. "Rojan, scramble the EMP charge," she ordered. Rojan's eyes widened. "The EMP? Captain, That'll knock out our own systems, too. I know, Voss said, her tone firm. But it'll shut down that artifact. Do it. On Voss's command, the Resolution deployed its secret weapon, an electromagnetic pulse charge, a last-resort tool designed to disable enemy electronics. The device jettisoned from the frigate's underbelly and detonated a split second later, sending a shock wave of electromagnetic energy rippling through the void. The claw of dusk's lights flickered and died as the EMP overwhelmed its systems. The artifact's green glow sputtered, then extinguished entirely. The pirate flagship drifted lifelessly, its weapon silenced. Inside the Resolution, the bridge lights dimmed and the hum of the engines faded. For a moment, the ship floated in silence, its systems offline. Then, one by one, the Resolution systems rebooted, the advanced AI compensating for the EMP's effects. "Systems are back online," Rojan reported, relief evident in his voice. Voss allowed herself a brief exhale. "Good. Open a channel to the pirate flagship." The comms crackled to life, and Voss's voice rang out, cold and unyielding. "Captain Threx, this is your one and only chance. Surrender, or you won't live to regret it." There was no response. The claw of dusk remained silent, its power gone and its captain defeated. "Message delivered," Monroe said, a hint of satisfaction in his tone. Voss nodded, her expression hard. "Let's finish this. Target their weapons array, and make sure they can't pull this stunt again." As the Resolution prepared for its final strike, Voss knew one thing for certain. The Zarthun pirates would never forget this day. Chapter 4. The Pirate Captain's Gambit. The claw of dusk drifted in silence, its once proud silhouette now a shattered and powerless husk. The pirates aboard scrambled to repair the damage wrought by the Resolution. Emergency lights flickered weakly in the gloom as Captain Threx slumped against a bulkhead, his chitinous body scorched and his pride in tatters. The artifact lay inert in the center of the bridge, the once pulsing crystalline orb now dulled to a faint green hue. But its power wasn't gone, not entirely. Threx staggered to his feet, his mandibles clicking furiously. "Krotak," he rasped. "Status on the artifact?" Krotak emerged from the shadows, his face a mixture of fear and defiance. "The containment field is gone, Captain. Whatever energy it still holds is unstable. Trying to use it again could destroy the ship." "Then it is our only option," Threx growled, his black eyes gleaming with desperation. He gestured toward the artifact. "If we cannot defeat them with firepower, we will defeat them with chaos. Prepare the artifact for detonation." Krotak recoiled. "Detonation? Captain, that could wipe out everything within 10 kilometers, including us." Threx's mandibles spread in a savage grin. "A glorious death is better than defeat at the hands of these humans. They must know fear before we die. Now do as I command." Reluctantly, Krotak began inputting commands into a flickering console. The artifact glowed faintly, its light deepening into a menacing green as it built toward critical mass. On board the Resolution, Captain Voss studied the motionless pirate ship with narrowed eyes. Her tactical display showed no energy readings from the enemy vessel, but her instincts told her something was wrong. "They're stalling," she said, her voice low but certain. "I don't like it." "Could be they've finally learned their lesson," Monroe suggested, though his tone betrayed doubt. Voss shook her head. "No. If they were surrendering, they'd be signaling by now." "Rojan, anything unusual?" Rojan frowned at his console. "Nothing conclusive, but I'm picking up faint energy fluctuations. Same frequency as before the artifact was activated." Voss's eyes narrowed. "They're not giving up. They're planning something." Her mind raced. If the pirates were trying to reactivate the artifact, The Resolution couldn't afford to wait and see. "Options?" she asked, turning to her officers. Monroe didn't hesitate. "Board them. Take the artifact before they can use it. We've got the gear for close-quarters combat." Voss considered it, then nodded. "Agreed. We can't risk them detonating that thing. Prep the strike team. I'm going in." Minutes later, Voss stood in the frigate's armory, pulling on her combat exosuit. The suit clung to her like a second skin, its sleek black plates lined with energy-dispersing circuits. A reinforced helmet locked into place, its visor feeding tactical readouts directly into her vision. Her strike team, a mix of human marines and AI-assisted combat drones, assembled in the hangar. Each marine carried advanced pulse rifles and specialized EMP grenades, designed specifically for countering alien tech. Commander Monroe approached, his expression tight. "You sure about this, Captain? No offense, but leading from the front is a good way to get yourself killed." Voss smirked. "The pirates need to know who's coming for them. Besides, I trust my crew to handle the Resolution. You've got the chair until I get back." Monroe sighed but nodded. "Understood. Don't make me explain this to Fleet Command." "Wouldn't dream of it," Voss replied, stepping into the drop shuttle. The shuttle sliced through the void, weaving through the debris field surrounding the Claw of Dusk. As they closed in on the pirate flagship, the faint green glow of the artifact became visible through the ship's shattered hull. "Time to breach," Voss said, her voice steady. The shuttle latched onto the Claw of Dusk's hull with a sharp clang, its cutting torches burning through the pirate ship's exterior. The airlock hissed open, and the strike team flooded into the ship. Inside the Claw of Dusk, the atmosphere was a haze of smoke and flickering lights. The Terran Marines moved with disciplined precision, their weapons sweeping the corridors as the combat drones flanked them. Voss led the way, her helmet's HUD highlighting the faint energy signature of the artifact. They moved quickly, dispatching scattered groups of pirate crew who were too disorganized to mount a serious defense. As they approached the bridge, a sudden explosion rocked the ship. "What the hell was that?" one of the Marines shouted. Voss steadied herself against a bulkhead. "They're destabilizing the artifact," she said grimly. "We're out of time. Move." The strike team breached the bridge with a controlled explosion, the blast tearing through the reinforced doors. Smoke billowed into the room as Voss and her team stormed in, their weapons trained on the pirates inside. "Hold it right there," Voss shouted, her voice amplified by her helmet's speakers. Threx turned to face her, his battered body illuminated by the artifact's pulsating glow. He held a clawed hand over the controls, a savage grin on his face. "Too late, human," he hissed. "The artifact will consume us all. You cannot stop it." Voss raised her pulse rifle, her aim steady. "You really think humanity hasn't dealt with lunatics like you before? Stand down, or I'll put you down." Threx hesitated for a fraction of a second, just long enough for Voss to act. "EMP grenades," she barked. The Marines hurled their grenades toward the artifact. The devices detonated in a flash of electromagnetic energy, sending waves of distortion through the room. The artifact's glow flickered and dimmed, its energy output plummeting. "No!" Threx roared, lunging toward the controls. Voss didn't hesitate. A single shot from her pulse rifle struck him square in the chest, sending him sprawling to the floor. Artifact neutralized, Rojan's voice crackled through Voss's comms. "Good work, Captain." Voss exhaled, lowering her weapon. "Mission accomplished. Secure the artifact and take any survivors into custody. Let's wrap this up." The strike team returned to the Resolution, leaving the Claw of Dusk adrift and powerless. As the Terran warship pulled away, The pirates who survived were left to contemplate the full weight of their failure. Back on the bridge of the Resolution, Voss stood tall as Monroe relinquished the command chair. "Welcome back, Captain," Monroe said. "How was the front row?" Voss smirked. "Messy. Just the way I like it." She turned to the tactical display, her voice resolute. "Send a message to Fleet Command. The Zarthun won't be bothering us again. Not for a long time." Chapter 5. The Unforgettable Lesson. The Resolution hung silently in the void, its sleek, predatory silhouette gleaming faintly against the backdrop of the drift shards. Below, the shattered remains of the Zarthun fleet drifted, their once proud vessels reduced to smouldering wreckage. The Claw of Dusk, gutted and powerless, floated at the center like a broken trophy. On the bridge of the Resolution, Captain Myra Voss watched the tactical display with a cold intensity. Her crew worked diligently around her, securing the final stages of the operation. Survivors from the pirate fleet were being rounded up by drones and hauled into containment cells aboard the frigate. Monroe approached, his expression a mix of satisfaction and wariness. "Pirate ships are disabled, artifact is secured in containment, and the survivors are less than cooperative. No surprise there." Voss nodded, her eyes never leaving the screen. "They'll cooperate when they realize their options. How's the ship?" "Minor damage to the hull, shields back to full capacity, and systems are fully operational. We came out of this better than I expected." Monroe paused. "Captain, if we're being honest, I didn't think we'd walk away from that artifact in one piece." "Neither did they," Voss said, a faint smirk touching her lips. She gestured to the comms officer. "Get me a channel to their flagship." The bridge of the Claw of Dusk was a chaotic mess. Smoke choked the air, and the remaining crew stumbled through the wreckage, their desperation palpable. Captain Threx sat slumped against a bulkhead, his carapace cracked and blackened where Voss's pulse rifle had struck. His claws twitched weakly, his defiance dimmed but not extinguished. The comm panel crackled to life, and Voss's voice filled the room. It was steady and icy, cutting through the despair like a blade. "Captain Threx, this is Captain Myra Voss of the Resolution. You and your crew are now prisoners of the Terran Navy. Your fleet is destroyed, your artifact confiscated, and your reign of terror is over." Threx coughed, a guttural rasp that could have been a laugh. "You think you've won, human? We will rise again. The Zarthun cannot be defeated. You are but a blip in the void, a fleeting nuisance." Voss's smirk widened, though her voice remained calm. "Rise again? You can't even stand. Your crew will face human justice, and the rest of the Zarthun will know what happens when they target us. You called us prey. You were wrong. We're predators, just like you, but smarter, and we don't leave unfinished business." She leaned forward, her voice lowering to a dangerous growl. "Spread the word, Captain. Tell every pirate, every slaver, every so-called warlord, humanity doesn't start wars, but we end them." Threx's mandibles clicked weakly, his bravado crumbling as the comms cut off. The Resolution moved gracefully through the wreckage, deploying salvage drones to retrieve valuable materials and ensure no pirate assets could be recovered. The crew worked efficiently, the adrenaline of battle giving way to grim determination. In the warship's brig, the captured Zarthun pirates snarled and hissed in their containment fields, their alien fury tempered by the unyielding walls of their cells. A few clung to the remnants of their arrogance, but most sat in silence, their gazes hollow. Back on the bridge, Monroe joined Voss as the tactical display updated with the latest reports. "Salvage operations are almost complete. Fleet Command will want a full debrief on the artifact." "They'll get it," Voss said. Her voice was distant, her gaze fixed on the vast expanse of space beyond the viewport. "And they'll want it weaponized." Monroe frowned. "Do you think that's wise? Something that unstable. It's just as likely to kill us as our enemies." Voss turned to him, her expression unreadable. "That's not my call to make. Our job was to take it out of pirate hands, and we did that. Whatever happens next is on the brass." Monroe hesitated, then nodded. "And what about the pirates? The ones who survive?" "They'll go to trial," Voss said firmly. "The galaxy will see what happens when you cross humanity. This was never just about one fleet. It's about sending a message." As the Resolution completed its operations, Voss took a moment to reflect in her private quarters. The room was sparse and utilitarian, a reminder of the discipline required for her role. She sat at her desk, staring at the small holographic display that hovered above it, a map of the drift shards, with markers denoting every confirmed pirate raid. Each marker represented lives lost, ships destroyed, futures stolen. She tapped a command, and one by one, the markers blinked out. The Zarthun's reign in this sector was over. Her comm panel chimed, and she tapped it to answer. Monroe's voice came through. "Captain, the salvage drones are recalling. We're ready to move out." "Understood," Voss replied. She rose to her feet, her resolve firm. "Set course for the nearest outpost. Let's deliver the package." The Resolution disappeared into the stars, leaving the shattered remnants of the Zarthun fleet as a stark warning to any who would follow in their footsteps. Across the drift shards, news of the battle spread like wildfire. Survivors whispered tales of the Terran warship that had emerged from the shadows, dismantling an entire fleet with ruthless precision. Humanity, it seemed, was no longer a target for the galaxy's predators. It was a force to be reckoned with, and the name Resolution became a legend. Epilogue. Echoes of fear. Far away, in the shadowy corners of the galaxy, pirate leaders and warlords received the news. Some dismissed it as propaganda. Others scoffed at the idea of humans posing a real threat.